Hey everybody, it is October 16th, 2007. I am Sonic Sons, and I'm here to pitch a comic book idea to DC. Hopefully they'll hear about it. This was actually recorded on October 12th, and it had bad audio, and now I'm hoping it'll work out a little bit better. So, my idea, as you can see from the title of this video, Gotham Times. And that refers to, of course, Gotham, the city which Batman inhabits. And I've said this before. Batman is my favorite superhero, for many reasons. Among them, well, everyone mentions the fact he doesn't have superpowers, so he has to be resourceful. You know, there's a mental aspect in there, and that goes right along with his stealth, you know, tricking his opponents, working with their emotions, making them fear him, making them, you know, all these things. But Batman, like so many other things, deals with a lot of the cliches of comic books. And they all kind of interrelate to each other, and interrelate to the fact that you have a whole bunch of different authors all writing stories on the same character, doing like similar things, and then trying to like put it all into one big continuity. Okay, so essentially, there's the problem that nothing really happens. And what I mean by that is, nothing seems to happen with serious long-term effects, or even like serious build-up to the deal. And you can see this, for instance, in comic book death, which I believe there's actually a page on Wikipedia for that, wherein no one dies, except for anonymous henchmen, and once in a while, maybe somebody important. You know, but generally, we have our, you know, some villain threatens all of Gotham, and there's another cliche right there. All of Gotham is threatened. There's like a nuclear bomb. There's, you know, tons and tons of evil laughing gas. There's this satellite that's gonna shoot down this laser and kill off everybody. And, you know, I mean, it would be big enough if you killed, like, 30 people. Imagine you're reading that newspaper, 30 people killed last night. Oh, crap, that's a big crime. But our comic book people always seem to have to deal with incredibly big things, which, you know, it's fiction. I can see how you want to exaggerate deals. The problem is, everything is our biggest crisis, right? There's a problem with that. Superlatives. This is the biggest threat that Gotham has ever faced. No, wait, this is the biggest threat that Gotham... No, wait, this is the most insidious plot, and it's like the same stuff. It's the same stuff as well. You know, it's like freaking DBZ. I'm sorry for offending all the fans of Dragon Ball Z, but man, the guys, that show can seriously, it's just superlatives. Like, oh yeah, boom, oh yeah, even bigger explosion, oh yeah. And even though Batman's my favorite comic book character, this stuff can fall prey to that. It's like, oh no, another incredibly big plot. Using the same villains. Get back to comic book death. Oftentimes there's a big villain, and Batman gets in. Hey, that all makes sense. He's intervening in the big deal. And then, you know, maybe the guy falls off a building, the bad guy that is, into, like, the ocean. And he's assumed dead. You know. And then they never confirm that death. Because they have to leave it open for the next author will come around and say, oh, let's use that villain again. And like, oh wait, actually, when he fell into the ocean, he swam to his secret submarine, and he... Now, granted, not all of it's that bad. By the way, I'm not actually a real Batman expert. I've read some of the best stuff. I've read Long Halloween, which is very awesome, and Dark Knight Victory followed that up. Not as good, but very good. We read Dark Knight Returns. I read War on Crime, which you may not have heard of. It's like this big, but then there's like this many pages. They're all like oil paintings, and like that you know, I have to say that's like my favorite. Which a lot of people list War on Crime, but that's like, it's a very personal story. You know, you have an author here who understands that the saving of just one life can be made interesting. You don't need to save the world. So continuing on our discussions of the problems, so we have superlatives. Everything's always the biggest, the worst, the most powerful. You know, like this is like the sleaziest area of Gotham. And like, no wait, this is the sleazy. No wait, this is the coolest gadget that Batman's ever used. No wait, this, you know, the biggest challenge he's ever faced. We have a problem with comic book death, where well, no one really dies. Particularly all the bad guys, they'll get killed, or at least in the case of Batman, you know, he's a thing against killing. So, okay, it makes sense that people don't die very often. But they all go to Arkham Asylum as their prison, and they all get out. all the time. It's like, why the freak doesn't billionaire Bruce Wayne just make a giant donation to the city and build a new prison according to his specifications? And then being Batman, he could build the prison in such a way that no one escapes. Of course, the reason everyone escapes all the time is because, we're used to seeing the Joker. We're used to seeing the Penguin and the Riddler and Two-Face and all these recurring villains, And furthermore, they're all flamboyant, aren't they? I just like to see it. That's one thing I love about Long Halloween. It actually involves, every villain you've ever heard of. But one of the more important guys in it is Carmine Falcone, who is a mob boss. And he's just a mob boss. Which makes him very powerful, but he's not insane. He doesn't wear a colorful costume and run about Gotham screaming random things. And, I always find it interesting how these insane people manage to get, thousands of random henchmen on their side. Even after going to jail multiple times, the Joker gets out and somehow he has another blimp full of evil laughing gas and, 30 guys with, assault rifles guarding it. Where did that come from? There's nothing really happening. Everything just comes out of the blue. And the good stuff generally avoids the out-of-the-blueness. Makes things, builds things into the plot. So things are building up. Even if you don't realize it, maybe some big secret comes out, and then it's like, oh, wait, now I get it, this, and this. This was all, people working in the background to make this other thing happen. The worst things are, when I read No Man's Land, right? Some of No Man's Land was really good. And some of it was horrible. It was the worst part, I think, was someone's like, we were just attacked by Mr. Freeze! He built that ice castle over there! And then, there's a castle made of ice in the middle of Gotham all of a sudden. And it's like, how do you freak did you manage to do that before anyone noticed? You'd think Batman would just be like, there seems to be a half-constructed ice castle over here. And then, of course, as he fights Mr. Freeze, does a monologue explaining his whole motivation for being Mr. Freeze and his backstory and all that. I'm like, oh, come on. People don't just randomly explain their backstories in the middle of combat. A guy doesn't, pick up a gun and just be like, bang, 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 my sister was killed 10 years ago, bang, 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 and now I'm full with rage, bang, 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 I'm going to kill you, Batman, bang, bang, bang. Not generally. Maybe once in a while, I don't know, but all the time, guys? Nothing really happens. Batman gets injured, maybe, but he's only injured to the end of that story. And then, next story, he's perfectly fine. Did he recover? I don't know. What was the one, with Bane, Nightfall, right? So Bane is the one villain, you possibly haven't heard of him, but he ends up breaking Batman's spine. Jumping on a spoiler. Okay, so there's mild spoilers coming up, sorry. It's not the greatest story anyway. You notice I haven't said anything about Long Halloween. Just read it. So breaks Batman's spine, and I thought, oh, this is cool, because then there's Batman's gonna struggle, and he's gotta get back in shape, and I don't know if I missed a book or what, but I'm getting each of these books in order from my library, and at the end of the one book, he's in a wheelchair, thanks to his broken spine, and at the beginning of the next one, he's on his feet, perfectly mobile. Whatever happened to, healing? He's doing, full kung fu and everything. Well, that's pretty weird. Nothing really happens. Characters when they get introduced, they rarely go away. The villains just keep coming back. Even the hero people, Batman has a Robin, which first off, I don't know why Robin dresses in those bright colors. It doesn't really go with the motif. But whatever, I guess it's just as weird to wonder why one of the darkest superheroes in existence has a clown as his main villain. I've always found that, well, I wouldn't say I've always found that odd, but once I started thinking about it, it was like, that's pretty odd. You want to pair up Batman with somebody, you think they would go with Hush. You heard of Hush? He's this cool guy, he's got bandages all over his face, but he's smart, is his thing. He's not psychotic, and he doesn't dress up flamboyantly. That seems like a reasonable adversary, but whatever.